Good evening. Thank you all for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you joining us here at the Russell Special Collections Libraries building tonight for this very special discussion about the past, present, and future of UGA's gymnastics program, which of course is one of the most storied and successful athletics programs in the country. So we are very excited to have this event tonight. Hargrett Library is home to the archives of the university, as well as the archives of the university's athletic association. And we are charged with making the heritage, the history and heritage of the university available to people, whether they are alumni, fans, letter winners, whomever, or researchers, whomever would like to take part in that heritage or learn from it. Our athletics collections are extensive, but they are not static, and we do not intend for them to be static. We are currently working to make certain that the contributions of female and minority athletes are well represented and properly represented in our athletics collections. We're also working to make certain that the contributions of our current student athletes are represented properly for posterity in our collections, because the contributions they make to the university deserve a home in the archives for posterity. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce our panel for this evening. Of course, we have one of the most highly decorated college gymnasts in history, and the current new head coach of the Gymdogs, Courtney Kupets-Carter.
Well, thank you.
And a woman who led the Gymdogs to 10 national titles and many more honors we could list in a reasonable amount of time, Suzanne Yoculan-Leebern. Thank you all for joining us. And our moderator is John Frierson, staff writer for the UGA Athletics Department. John.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Jason. This is going to be a very casual. You two know each other very well, and I may steer the boat a little bit, but I want you two to kind of go back and forth as much as you want. And we're going to hit a few topics, but we can just kind of see where your conversation with each other takes us. I mean, one of the great things about Georgia athletics is there's so many great programs with such storied traditions, and and they're all chasing gymnastics with its 10 national titles and almost countless individual. I think it was 39 individual titles, maybe just during your tenure, Suzanne, but it's just.
I'm not sure. I know it's more than anyone else. Though.
Yeah, it's a long list, and every Georgia program is chasing the gymnastics program. And I mean, thinking about where to start, I mean, the obvious place is Suzanne. When you got here, I mean, what were you? If you want to use that, I mean, it's a small group. I mean, if you project it. I mean, obviously the program was sort of in its infancy when you got here, but what were you like as a coach, as a person at that point? I mean, what were your influences in gymnastics when you first got here?
Well, I was an unsuccessful college gymnast, and then owned a gym and started coaching and just found it was a natural fit for me. I loved it, loved doing developmental gymnastics. And just owned a gym, and the numbers in the gym increased, and I was able to have some really high-level athletes on my teams, and that gave me access to some of the best coaches in the country. So I was able to go to many camps and have invitations with the athletes to go to these high-level, instructional camps and learn more and more about coaching at the highest levels, and had some girls on the national team. And then, from there I just fell in love with coaching gymnastics and loved coaching at the higher level. But when my son turned 5, I did not want to work in a club setting. I did not want to have to work until 9 and 10 o'clock at night, which is what you have to do when you're in youth sports. And so I just I sold my gym, and I just worked for another gym owner and worked with the high-level kids, but didn't own the gym any longer, and had the opportunity to go to University of Nebraska. They had a job opening for a head coach, and I got encouraged to apply for that job, and I did, and I got called on the phone and said I was one of 2 finalists, and I was really excited. They said, you're going to have a phone call next week to set up your interview. And I was really looking forward to it, and I never got the phone call, and I never got the interview. And so I was like, wow, this just doesn't seem right. And it really stayed with me my whole life, because one thing that's really important to me is that people do what they say they're gonna do, and fairness and commitment are just so important to me, and I felt so cheated out of the opportunity. They hired the University of Georgia coach, so this job was open. But actually, I wanted no part of it. I didn't even know who won the national championship back then. There was no NCAA, it was AIAW, and Utah, I guess, had been the national champions in AIAW 81, 82, 83 in that period of time. But I didn't even know who was the best college gymnastics program in the country. I knew nothing about it. And when Liz Murphy from UGA called me up and asked me to come down for an interview, she said she had heard that I was a finalist in Nebraska. And Lee Cunningham, for those of you that have been on faculty here for a long time, remember Lee Cunningham, one of the PE instructors back then, who was a Penn State grad, and I was as well, had recommended me. And Liz Murphy called me and I go, Georgia? I don't want to go to Georgia. It's where you go through to get to Florida. And I'm not really into Confederate flags and Jimmy Carter and peanuts. And I literally said that to her. She just started laughing and said, please just come down anyway. And she talked me into it. And I fell in love with it. I just really go with my intuition a lot, and I felt like walking down College Avenue was sort of like walking down, College Avenue at Penn State with Old Main up on the hill and sort of like where our arches are. It just reminded me of Penn State in the South with warm weather, which was great. I loved everything about Penn State except for the weather. So I came down here and, my first gymnastics meet, and some of you were there. I was expecting a lot more than 200 fans, and because at Penn State we had 6,000, 7,000 when I left, and Joe Paterno was in the front row immediately. So I was wondering why Vince Dooley wasn't there. I'm like, you hired me and you don't even come to gymnastics meetings. So it was an interesting start, but I had, big vision, big ideas, and I wanted this job because I really felt like there was an opportunity here. I felt like that the support was going to be here, but at the same time, there weren't going to be a lot of limitations on me. I liked that. I liked that our athletic director was busy with other things, and I could sort of do what I wanted. And it just bodes me well. I'm not the kind of horse that needs to have a bridle on. And my personality just fit in with this job. And I just, I just couldn't get enough of it. I just couldn't stop with the ideas and the excitement, and it just went from there. So my actual competition, I did compete gymnastics in high school. I was the New Jersey state champion, whatever that's good for. And a lot of forward rolls on a hard balance beam and things like that. So certainly not the level that the girls are doing today or anything close to that. That's one thing about our sport. It's changed so much that most college gymnastics coaches, and a lot of coaches in gymnastics haven't done the kinds of things that they're teaching now.
Well, that's one thing I'm going to get to in a little bit. But Courtney, for you, when you were obviously a very, very successful junior youth gymnast, what were you looking for in a college, in a program, and why did you, ultimately pick Georgia?
Yeah, it's funny. At the time, I was going into the Olympics. So I actually, during that time, you didn't have to decide on your college till you were junior or senior in high school. That seems like decades ago now when you're thinking about college, where you want to go. And so I went to the Olympics first. I did my gymnastics. It's the pinnacle, so I was really excited in getting to do that and got a silver with my team. And at that time, my sister was, I think, a freshman going into her sophomore year at UGA. And so I didn't really feel the need necessarily to look into colleges yet. I kind of had my inside scoop from my sister Ashley and what she was going through, and it seemed like so much fun, and I couldn't wait, and I knew that was what I was going to do next. I just knew it. So I didn't have to look into it too early before that, which I'm very thankful for, because I got to focus on the Olympics. And then when I was done with that, was interested in a couple schools, came down to Georgia on a visit, and didn't go to another school. And I think a couple things leading into that decision were, one, I dropped my brother off at college. He's probably about 4 years older than me, and he had to walk down the hallway to a bathroom, a group bathroom with other people carrying a basket, and I was like, I am not going to college without a bathroom in my room. And so that was actually one of my decision makers. Hey, I'm still a girl, all right? So I was a high-level athlete, but I was still a girl, and that's what I wanted. So most colleges do, for athletes, have bathrooms in their dorms now, so that was kind of a check off my list at Georgia. But the other thing was, you just feel at home at Georgia, and I know Suzanne had just said it too, like she was from Penn State, and it made her feel like Penn State in a way, and to me it was just like, I feel good here, I like it. I was looking for gymnastics, honestly. I wasn't done. Even though I had been to the Olympics, I still wanted more. I mean, gymnastics for most people are, you start at such a young age, 3 years old, and you go through your life and do it. And it's like, I knew I had 4 years left of gymnastics. I mean, at that point, okay, yes, I'd been to the Olympics, but I have 4 years left. What am I going to do with it? And so I really wanted to make sure that I went to a program that cared about the athlete, one, but also that we wanted to win. And this was I didn't know much about college gymnastics either. It wasn't a big thing on the elite stage for elites to trickle down into college level, and I'm so glad it has changed a little bit in that direction, and I'm hoping I helped pave that way a little bit, because it's so important, I think, for a gymnast to realize there's more to gymnastics than the Olympics. It's a very good goal, and so many people have it, but there's so much more opportunity, and that's what college gymnastics can give you. And I came down to Georgia, met the coaches, and they were all so different, came from different backgrounds, and I loved that. It's, you're used to having one coach that tell you what to do, and I realized, no, they gave you options. They wanted to teach you how to make decisions as well, and that's what I was hearing from my sister Ashley constantly. And so even though they weren't allowed to actually push me to Georgia, they knew very good that I was stubborn and I was going to do what I wanted. If they told me to go to Georgia, I wouldn't go to Georgia. So they were very good in the fact that they let me decide where I wanted to go, and honestly, I knew in my heart that's where I was going to be. And the weather does help. And my parents at the time, we lived in Maryland, so it was the closest university. And so that was a big decision for us as a family, because my parents had always been involved in art gymnastics, and actually at times only my mom could travel because I had brothers. And so now I was hoping that they both could come down, and especially with having a sister on the team, it was just a natural fit.
Yeah. Suzanne, can you take me back? When you first started, y'all trained in the women's PE building, correct?
Right.
Can you take us through?
Right.
I mean, facilities-wise, I mean, in my head, it's like that scene in Rocky IV where he's training in a barn with it's as rustic as it gets. I mean,
Right.
can you take us sort of through the evolution of the
Sure.
program
I mean,
from a
everything-
facilities point of view?
Sure, everything changes, as we know. I actually love those days. I don't look back and think, oh my God, how horrible it was. And the gym was, I think probably the worst part was just the chalk and the smell from the old swimming pool that was underneath us in the building. And it was the mildew from that swimming pool that seemed like was always coming through there. But other than that, we didn't really care. There was a big window over the pit, which we dug out ourselves, the concrete and all. There was a big window over it, and so when the gymnasts got locked out on weekends or wanted to go in, they climbed up the brick outside and pushed the window and jumped in the pit. They thought I didn't know, but I actually knew for years that was going on. I just was like, that was okay. They could do that if they want. And it had an old stage up at the corner of the gym. Of course, we had a men's team back then in 1983, 84, and we shared the gym with them, and that was fun. We really, as a team, grew with the times, and the current team during those years in the late 80s and early 90s were part of the growth of Georgia Gymnastics. And I think because I know that they are so invested in our history and in their championships, especially because they didn't just do gymnastics. I mean, they were out there putting flyers on windows. We were hauling a balance beam to a school every Wednesday to do exhibitions. And the girls are really invested in, they really had ownership on the program. So they didn't take anything for granted. I mean, they literally would walk into the Coliseum and go, look, there's more people today. And there'd be like 600, and then there'd be 800, and then there'd be 1,000. And I can remember just watching it grow and grow and grow, from 1,000 to 3,000 to 4,000. And it was really an exciting time. It was really an exciting time. We traveled, of course, in old vans with 15 people on the, Terry Eckert was on the floor, no seat belts. I mean, just all teams traveled that way back then. But it brought us closer because we spent so much time together, like doing everything together, because that was the only way to get anything done, was for us to do it. We didn't have a wonderful promotions office and an administration to help set up equipment and people to set up equipment or to, assign judges or do any of that. I mean, our booster club did that. Judy Clifton and some of the people in the original 10-0 club were the ones that set everything up for a meet. So it was really a special period of time.
Ooh, you can see the transition there. I just wanted a bathroom and they had to do everything. Generation shift is incredible.
And I'm not so sure it's so good for the girls today. I'm not saying specifically this team, but in general, it's sort of the age of the eye. And, so many of our children are get trophies just to be on a team when they're 5 years old. And no, I don't know that they don't need a little blood, sweat, and tears too.
Yeah. Well, and sort of, I was going to ask about, I mean, your reaction, because you, I'm sure, trained in sort of elite facilities, and then you got to Georgia, and Georgia was already, I guess, started out in the Ramsey Center,
Yes.
which was obviously a very nice facility. Now we're there, about 12 years before you had the new practice facility. I mean, how important was it for you and maybe your contemporaries to sort of have the sort of elite facilities that you had?
I think the new facilities today weren't really a part of the equation yet. And
There was a piece of equipment you told me you had to have or you weren't coming.
was that me?
Yeah, that was you.
It was probably a knee pad,
So, no, it was some kind of tumble thing.
rod floor.
That was it.
It was a rod floor. I was always injured, so I needed things to help me progress a little bit faster.
She goes, you don't have a rod floor. Well, she didn't say it like that. She goes, you don't have a rod floor. Do you think we can get one? It was very sweet. I'm like, whatever you want.
No, and that's the one thing I know. A lot of times, most elite athletes aren't used to the level of facility that college gymnastics has today, and so that wasn't necessarily a thing that I was really looking for. But I do think little surfaces like that help. There was a rod floor instead of the hard floor surface. It was with little rods, so it made it softer. And now we have the trampoline. So we didn't have the trampoline in the Ramsey Center, and we do now. And it just really helps bring the athlete back faster from injuries. That's all it really is. And I was always injured, so I knew what I needed in terms to get myself back on top of it. But it's funny because now we'll go on tours, and I actually see the building that she's talking about with the window in the basement. And I'm like, woo, really?
Yeah, that one.
It's incredible. But the Ramsey Center was next, and that's where I started off my first 2 years, which was great. We had a little locker room. It was quaint. There's students. It was where the swimming pool is now too. So we were close to the athletes. So that was nice.
And close to the dorm, the new dorm when they built.
It was right across the street from the new dorm with the bathrooms. So
That was great. And I actually think being in the Ramsey Center really helped the growth of our program in terms of attendance, because it was all glass and everyone saw us, and we were right in the mainstream of UGA students. And we had the doors open and we let everyone come in. It was like open door policy, anybody who wants to watch. And I really feel that that's always sort of been, my thing, is being really inclusive with people and bringing them in and letting them feel part of what's going on. Because for me as a fan and a spectator, I get really excited about watching the athletes that I actually feel like I know a little bit, whether they, were as a professor in your class, or just, even if you just stop by the gym and meet them one time, it makes you want to go and watch them compete, perform. And I think being in the Ramsey Center, that was the period of time in the 90s where we reached full capacity and actually had our first sellout in 1995, where people were scalping tickets. That was exciting.
What was the turning point for you where you realized this has the chance to maybe reach your vision and become this extraordinary thing that it went on to become? And was it the first national title? Was it something before that?
No, it was in the mid-90s. It was after the third title, after 1993. We were really excited, of course, to win a championship again. We tried to go to Washington to meet the president because at that time, all the teams were going. We didn't get to go. But everything was it was so exciting on campus. I think it was during the mid-90s. It was when the Gymdogs show started. The Gymdogs show started about the same time in 95 that we had the first big sellout. The TV show definitely was cabled, so everyone in Atlanta saw it. And it really hit me when our team was traveling to an away competition and we checked into the airport, the baggage guys outside, and the baggage guys, like, are you that Yako lady? You're a baggage guy, how do you know me? And he's like, we see you on TV, we'll watch it every week. And I was like, oh, okay. And, I know the TV show just really brought the awareness of our program really up. I mean, we were getting television coverage way before anyone else. The SEC coverage now benefits all teams, but we were really one of the first teams to, Utah was the first one to make a production out of gymnastics, really focus on a production with lights and stuff. But we were the first team in the SEC to do that. And, the Gymdogs show, we were the first ones to have an actual, weekly TV show. It was just an exciting time. And during that period of time, 94, 95, I started getting asked to do all these speaking engagements, like for big companies, Coca-Cola and Georgia Power. And I traveled. I mean, I was asked to go often, and they paid me a lot of money to go. And I was like, wow, I have a young family. This is great. But they never wanted to know about the championships. All they wanted to know about is how do you build a program from 200 fans to 10,000 in a college football town in the South. That's all they wanted to know. How did you do that? And I didn't even know how we did it. That's when I had to start thinking about putting together why I thought we were able to do it. But I had never thought about it. It was just something we all pitched in and did together. 10-0 and fans and faculty and athletes, we just all did it together.
Yeah. Courtney, I'm curious with you. I mean, I think like John McEnroe, the great tennis player, he got to the semifinals of Wimbledon before he ever showed up for his 1 year at Stanford. And so, a couple months after the semis of Wimbledon, he's a freshman at Stanford. For you, I mean, it's kind of a similar thing with the Olympics. I mean, how do you go from that to starting college, and what's the difference, sort of maybe mentally in terms of competition? And I mean, you're more a part of a team, I guess. But what was that like for you, that experience?
Yeah, it really is. Well, it was kind of cool. I got to go from Athens, Greece to Athens, Georgia. So that was always kind of a nice little tie-in. It was meant to be. But it was really great. 2004 was the Olympics, and my sister, that was her freshman year. So 2005, they're going to nationals. I believe it was Auburn. And so I was done. I was done with competing, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, keep up my skills, and I'll be at school next year. And it was really exciting because I remember going and watching first their regionals. I believe it was Florida. They had regionals at Florida, and they barely made it. It was like 3 falls on beam, I think.
Yes.
3 falls. So they had to count 2 falls on beam. It's just so vivid because it was just, that's how impactful college gymnastics is. And it was like, oh my gosh, are they gonna make it? Like, so excited. My sister's going, are they gonna make it? Like, I don't know. Just like staring at it. Come on, guys, like just cheering your hearts out. And I don't think I had ever cheered my heart out for gymnastics watching it. I had always, watched it and you see it and you're like, okay, I'd rather be doing it. And I was invested. Like, it was so exciting to watch this team. Really wanted to make it there. Made it by the skin of their teeth. It was incredible. 12th seed into nationals. Get to go to nationals now because it was Auburn, so it was a little closer. So I went down and watched with my mom to watch the team, and it was just incredible. Just like, okay, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna make it? They're like, oh my gosh, this is the team that just got it. I know they're gonna fall. How are they gonna do? Like, they won. It was just like the best feeling I could have ever had, and I just knew at that moment, yes, I had been to the Olympics, and this is a proud moment for your country, but at the same time, like, this was a team, and if you can train with these girls every single day, and then you could experience this together as a team winning, I don't think there's a better or greater feeling you can have. And I experienced that. I'm not even being part of the team, so I can definitely see, I was a fan before I became a Georgia gymnast. And that year really impacted me to how exciting college gymnastics was. And it was something that you do gymnastics your whole life, but like now you get to do it together as a team and use all the skills and everything you've learned. And I could not wait. Oh my goodness. So after watching it, they had just won. It was like, oh, I get to go there now. And I was sitting in the stands, I think, with a few of the other freshmen for the following year that I didn't even know. And I think we made a bond from that moment, kind of coming in as freshmen. So it's just something that I was excited for. And so it's a big transition though, because going to the Olympics, you see each other once a month, but it's more competing against each other. And I think it's become more team now that they see each other more often, but it's not the same when you're going to class with each other, you're living with each other. You're really knowing the ins and outs of this person, where if they're struggling in the gym, you know it, you can help them. Or if they're doing great, like you can kind of bandwagon it and feed off of them a little bit more. So I think it's just the best part of gymnastics, honestly. And so to get to experience all the different avenues of it, I am just so thankful for it. But I just share that with other gymnasts because I know everyone's starting to want to go to college gymnastics. And it's becoming more of a parity too, all the different schools and how well gymnastics in general in the U.S. is just so fantastic that you could go anywhere and find a couple great kids, on any team. But I think the one thing that's different about Georgia and what I've noticed just throughout the years and hearing all the fun stories from Suzanne, seeing it before getting here and then being part of it, it's just tradition and family though. And it's just that part of Georgia that's so different to me that once you're a part of it, you're always a part of it. And that stands for anyone, whether it's auxiliary staff, like our strength and conditioning coach, our trainers, like they're part of our family, and they're every bit as big of a champion as that athlete that competed. And I said, so I think that's such an amazing part of the Georgia tradition.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that strikes me, I mean, you're both incredibly successful coach, incredibly successful gymnast. I mean, in terms of motivation, I mean, Suzanne, we'll start with you. I mean, when you achieved this and you got 5 national titles, or whatever the point was there ever a point of struggling with, okay, I've kind of conquered this? Is it not the challenge it once was? I mean, how did you stay so motivated to keep pushing the way you did?
It's like, why does somebody buy another business? Because they can, I guess. I don't know. It was like the more we won, the more I wanted to win. It's like it's out there, and so why not go for it? I mean, I first of all, I don't believe in failure at all. That came from my dad. I don't even use that word. It doesn't exist for me. It's, you give it your best, and if you don't reach the pinnacle of where you were hoping to be, then it's partial success. And that's what I tell the team. You go all out, and you go all out, and you're going to have some kind of partial success. Nothing you do is going to be a failure if you go all out. And we were just talking about that today, the warrior kind of an attitude that, we need to bring back to the Georgia Gymnastics team, is that mentality that we had back in those years. And, it was a culture that we started building, and it was a fuel. It was just, I don't know, I was energized every single year. And, I can remember one time Lori Strong said to me, why can't you just let us enjoy this for 1 minute before you start talking about it next year or the next meet? She had gotten a 10 on floor, and I was telling her some things that she didn't do correctly. And she's like, why can't you just wait till Monday? And it really stuck with me. But I don't know, I guess just being so excited and seeing the girls so excited and knowing that we started from, this, every year you're starting over with a new team and a new chemistry and new problems and new challenges that you have to overcome. And I love teaching. And so there was always something new to teach, and I don't know, it just felt right every year. I never ever ran out of energy. I mean, even when I decided to retire, it wasn't because I was out of energy or because I felt like, okay, there's nothing else that, I can do. It was never about what I can do. It was always about what I can give these young people. And, I feel very proud of the fact that I feel like I taught them to, that there is no dream too big, and that if they want something, they need to go after it, and there's no such thing as failure. And those are the principles that I always instilled in our athletes, and in Courtney as well. And, I remember when she was on the team, and she thought, wow, maybe I'd like to go for the 2008 Olympics. Is that possible? Can I do that? And we're like, if you want to do it, we'll do everything we can on our end to make that happen. We'll give you the coaching, we'll give you the extra hours. It's a matter of whether USA Gymnastics will let her do that. And certainly she had the skill level to make the next team. And, it's something that she thought she wanted to do, and she can explain why she decided not to. But it was never anything that we would ever hold back from anyone, was anything that was important to them. And I don't know, I have the energy now again, it's exciting. It's exciting to see these young people learn life lessons through sport. And I really believe that. It's really in my heart to know that that's what they're learning when they're out there giving it their all every day.
I think it's funny because it is a clean slate every year. So no matter how much success you do reach that 1 year, you get to start all over. And so there's a never-ending want to get that again with the new team you have. But I think it's funny, she hit on a point that Laura Strong said, why can't you let me enjoy this? And it's Katie Heenan. I was a sophomore going into my junior year. Georgia had just won 3 in a row. I was part of 2 of them. On the bus, kind of being excited, all right, in next year. Like, she said something, and that's to me, like, who did she get that from?
Katie said it. I didn't say it, Katie said it.
Right, and that's just what Suzanne always did for us, was she instilled that in us. We truly bought in to the process, into the program, and what she was doing for us because we believed it. And she truly, genuinely cared, and we could see that, and we could see all the energy and thought she was putting into it. And it's so funny to hear Katie say that afterward, because it was just like, all right, Katie, here we go. And so it's almost like, not a mini Suzanne, but
I was like, Katie, what are you saying?
the whole entire year, it was nothing but we are winning this national championship my senior year, and we're going to do it. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And it was just like Suzanne kind of, I don't even know, she probably didn't have to lead as much in the problem area, because Katie was like, if there's a problem, she was on top of it. What is going on? I got it. We got to get it straight so we can get out there and win. It was just incredible how much Suzanne really impacted each and every one of us. And so it's funny because I think the program has spread from one person to so many people. And I think we all believe the same thing. We believe the same philosophy because of what Suzanne did for us. And I think that's one thing. She really did inspire me in terms of that. And every year was new. It was difficult too. I mean, it wasn't easy. And I look back, there were days I was landing on my butt too on vault. It was just like, this is not happening for me today. And I was like, okay, what's Courtney doing? And it's like, you know, they were able to really learn who we were as people to help us to get to our biggest potential and reach our highest ability. And that's constantly what she means by that. And there's no failure, because if we get to our best potential and we give it our all, we didn't fail. And so that's what she has instilled in all of us. And that's one thing that I'm so excited she's on board for this year to be the volunteer coach, because there's still things we can constantly learn just as people and as coaches. I mean, we're never done learning. And I'm at that beginning stage, but I think Suzanne was definitely one of the biggest impacts for me wanting to be a college coach, was that yes, I always thought, you know, I didn't want to be in a gym either. I'd been in a gym in my entire life. I was not going to go that route, but college was different. It's more than the gymnastics when you get to college. And I think I was really able to see how powerful that was for Suzanne to bring that on into our lives, because I learned so much during my 4 years. It's crazy. 4 years of my life, and I feel like I learned so much in a short period of time, but being able to bond with my teammates and get to experience that. And if you talk to any of the other alumni, they have similar stories. Different stories, but very similar in context. And that's what I think is so exciting about Georgia Gymnastics and what I hope to continue. And that's why, you know, I still want to learn from Suzanne and take what she's done and her philosophy, because I truly believe in it. And it's, you know, there are times where it gets you and it's not going to win every time, but I think it does win every time, because it helps to bring up the athletes in it. And that's the main goal coming on for me. You know, she had her highlights and why she wanted to do it. And for me, it's what it did for me and who it made me to be on a college gymnastics team and to be taught the right way and to be pushed the right way. It made me the person I am. And so I'm so grateful for that. But I want to make sure that the athletes that come to Georgia continue to get that, because I think it's a lasting tradition that I want to continue.
Yeah. One of the things, sort of looking back, I mean, 2008, 2009, that season, Suzanne's final. What's the pressure like to, you know, get 5 in a row, finish on top? I mean, just it would seem it's Georgia Gymnastics, so there's always pressure because you're always, you know, 1 or 2 or whatever in the country during that stretch. I mean, what was it like competing that year? Was it sort of extra pressure because it was her final season?
I don't think so, actually, because, you know, 2008, I actually tore my Achilles and I was out. And that's one of the other reasons I didn't go for the Olympics. I chose before that to not go for the Olympics because I decided, you know, I had given everything to be on this college team, and it was that important to me to not mess it up, because by doing my elite skills and my college skills, I thought it was too much, too many things. I mean, you have enough on your plate as a college athlete. Their time restrictions these days are massive, which is the one big difference from before, and why, you know, there isn't the time to go take that balance beam out on the fairground. They just don't have the time anymore, and it's crazy. So the more they are given, the more, you know, they have to produce a little bit. But that last year for me was just a finale type of year for my gymnastics career, and I don't remember ever feeling like a massive pressure for us to win. I knew we had the ability, and I knew if we were able to kind of match what we had done the years before, because it's never the same formula. Right. You can try as best you can, but you can't match year after year the same thing. You can't think what you do one year is going to get you there the next year. And then so we knew that, and I remember, I don't think we won SECs that year.
We didn't.
And I remember that being a big impact for me and my roommate, Grace Taylor, because we started being the Katies of the group. What's going on? What do we have to do? We're not there yet. What are we missing? Like, just analyzing the entire situation, making sure our team was on board. I don't know how you guys felt as a staff.
I mean, I never felt pressure. Mm-hmm. I always felt like it got easier because the culture was building, mm-hmm. and the belief in themselves, the confidence level, and the confidence in the system in each other, and us as coaches got better. And one of the things that Courtney's working with this current team on in teaching is that when the focus is off yourself and how you're going to do, and the focus is on your teammates, you're going to perform at a higher level yourself. And that's just a fact. I mean, I know that as a fact. And, you know, I think with teams that haven't had success as a team, there is more focus on the individual because they want some sense of accomplishment. So it's like, I want to get a perfect 10, or I want to be a national champion. And, you know, when there's so much pressure put on yourself, you just can't continue to perform well under pressure at the peak, at the big moments. So we had so much success as a team. We never talked about individual stuff. I mean, back then we didn't have SEC Athlete of the Week, and we didn't have columns in the Coliseum with girls' pictures on it, and everybody wants to be on the column, and why is she on the column instead of her on the column, and people being jealous of one another, and then you're dealing with, these are the kinds of things we're dealing with. I'm like, Courtney, we don't need anything on the columns. Let basketball have them on, you know. I'm kidding, but it's like, it just seemed like the focus was so much on the team that it just wasn't almost inevitable. I mean, I honestly didn't have to really talk about what we needed to do to win. The girls did it. I mean, it was the culture. They lived it. It's like 2005 was a huge hump because we hadn't won a championship since 1999. And so winning in 2005, when we were ranked 12th, when we, you know, had a horrible regional meet, to be able to come back and be stunning. I mean, we were lights out in that competition. Was anybody here at that meet, 2005? I mean, it was like, it was like the dream. I remember Jeremy Foley getting up and throwing his tablet down in the front row and walking out when we were on vaulting, when we started sticking our balls. And it's like, no, that was 2007, I'm sorry. That was when Florida was won in 2007. It's just, I remember in 2005 when Alabama just started peeling off the beam, falling one after another because we were sticking vaults, and they just were so distracted, and it was so enjoyable. And, you know, I think you just get that feeling in you, and you know how to do it, and the conversations with the team were about team. You know, we weren't having conversations that much about individual things. You know, Heather's here in the audience, and she can, you know, tells the story of 93 when we had a lot of girls in 93, and in 91 and 92, that took us down. And, you know, we were ranked number 1 all of those years, and I think we finished second, third, second. We still were in the top 3, but we weren't winning the championship. And I remember in Heather's senior year, and she had the torn arm the year before, and she laid in the hospital room, and she said to me, I'm not leaving Georgia without a national championship. I'm not leaving without a national championship. And she was never supposed to do gymnastics again. And that's the kind of leadership we had from upperclassmen. And that's the kind of leadership we had in 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So I don't know. I don't think I felt the pressure, really. I really don't.
I'm curious, you know, in every sport, athletes have progressed so much. I mean, training so much better when you're 12 years old. You know, nutrition theoretically is so much better, and just everything. I mean, can you take us through sort of the progress of, you know, gymnasts? And I mean, it seems like they're bigger, stronger, faster, and maybe even more ambitious or audacious, or, you know, daring with their routines and everything. I mean, have you seen that progression over the last, 20 years?
Yeah, well, I mean, I of course have seen it. She's seen it just since she was on the team in 2009. You know, I don't know that the gymnastic skills today are that much more than they were in 09. Do you think? Not really. I mean,
a little bit. There are some that are more, but in terms of the college level, I think you just see more of the big skills. Whereas before it was, if you had like the higher level difficulty on floor for a first pass, it was like few and far between, and now it's, you don't have it, watch out. But
definitely on vaulting, you know, the Yuchenko double full last year, there was, you know, 2 girls or 3 girls in the country doing it. You're going to see a lot of them this year. So, you know, people are, what's happening is the higher level girls all want to go to college now. You know, back in the days, in the 80s and early 90s, it's like, you know, you're just going out to pasture when you go to college, and if you were a high level athlete, you just went to get your scholarship, and you didn't intend on training hard, and you didn't really care one way or the other. It was just to get your scholarship, to get your education. But now it's not like that at all. I mean, everybody wants to not only be at a school, but they want to be at a school that's going to win championships. And that makes it tough with recruiting. And but the high level it's interesting because you don't really see it on balance beam. I don't know what you guys have noticed the last few years, but I feel balance beam is so boring. It's like everybody does the same leap and jump. Everybody does one flight because you don't get any more bonus for doing more. And why do more than 5/10 in bonus because there's no benefit and you might fall off. So everyone's really doing the minimum on balance beam. And that's disappointing. I mean, back when Kim Arnold was on the team in '98, she did harder gymnastics than what current athletes do now. And it's not because they can't do it, it's because the statistics are telling the coaches not to do it. And the rules aren't rewarding anyone to take the chances. So the rules have really limited what can be done in college gymnastics, and that's a shame. That's really a shame that that's happened, but that's the way the rules are right now.
I would kind of disagree a little bit though.
Okay, good.
Because I got to downgrade my skills from coming from the elite level, and so it was really fun.
You liked that?
I wouldn't have wanted to keep all those skills. I got to change them up every year. But no, I do think the equipment has a little bit to do with it, though. I mean, they're
But you
constantly
you
evolving.
did a beam routine that was
There are some. I mean,
crazy
you could
hard.
probably. I mean, and that's the one thing. If we have it at Georgia, they're going to do it. If you can hit it and hit every time, you're going to do the higher difficulty, and that's something that will continue. And I think those competitive athletes want that. So it's about getting the right athlete as well, who want to continually do the harder gymnastics and kind of stand out above the rest. And so that's something that we will more than happy to let them do what they want if they can hit it. So that's the other thing. I mean, in college gymnastics, you're competing every single weekend, which is completely different. So on the same scope, yes, you want to do all these hard skills, but can you maintain that week in and week out?
and stay healthy.
Which is more difficult because when you're coming into college, you tend to have more injuries. I think the more they're doing now, yes, we have better equipment and, we understand more about gymnastics, but they're also getting pushed a lot at their club gyms typically, and that's just the way gymnastics is. And it's how a body can handle it. So I had a lot of injuries, but I'd always recover from them. Some people have chronic injuries they have to deal with daily. And so it's, yes, she can do more skills, but is it worth it for her? And so I think that's just about maintaining throughout a season, making sure you can get through and peaking at nationals. I mean, that's the name of it, and just making sure that they can handle those skills as well.
So,
It's a lot.
as we start to head toward that home stretch here, I mean, it's been what, 7 months since you were introduced as the new head coach and had a baby? I don't even know what's.
It's probably less than that because my baby's 4 months old, so maybe 5 months.
I don't know, it seems like it hasn't been long enough. It seems like we need to be back in August.
Maybe 7.
It's been a full 5 or 6 months or whatever it's been. I mean, has it been? I mean, this lead up to your first season, has it been about what you expected? And being a new mom, I mean, how challenging has that been?
Yes, I mean, everyone knows with a baby it's always challenging. The amount of sleep you get is minuscule, but this one at least sleeps a little bit for me. No, it's been a challenge, and I knew it would be. I knew it would be a challenge just with the team and the atmosphere. Suzanne alluded to it a little bit more a little while ago too, as well. It's been an individual. It hasn't had the same tradition, the same culture that Georgia Gymnastics has had. And that's just difficult in itself, trying to, like she was saying, it wasn't as pressure-filled or stressful for the teams because they knew it. You were teaching 4 athletes every year, 2 to 5, whatever your freshman class was. That's who you were trying to understand and help guide along the way what the tradition was. 4 to 5 kids. And now taking a team, you're trying to teach 15 kids at the same time. So it's very different in terms of just joining the group every single year, understanding the culture, understanding the tradition, understanding what this process takes. If you're having a down day, someone can be like, it's worth it. Wait till later. It's like everyone's kind of in the same boat, and so it's they're working really hard at the change, and change, as we all know, is difficult, whether it's good or bad, and that's what I've told them. And so they're really actively working to change and to buy in, and I know it will not hit them until the end of season, because it didn't hit me until my end of my freshman year. I didn't truly understand or get it till the end of the year. And so I know that about all of them. I'm like, they're going to understand it, they're going to get it, and they're going to be excited and get to pass that on from now. But it's just that's the difficulty right now, is just building that culture with the whole team at the same time. And I knew it would be a challenge, and there's a lot of other things, but the one thing that's been very helpful is the staff that's around. So we do have a lot of different departments that are jumping in. They've done this year in and year out and are constantly there to help guide and make sure Georgia is on track with being new and inventive. I feel like Georgia was always the trendsetters for different things, so we're trying to continue that in different ways. So we will do that and have some fun with it at the competitions and just in what they wear and how they act, making sure they're classy in victory and defeat. I think it's very important that they're number one as people, like we have said before, but we're getting there slowly with them. And so it's been fun though to see the progression just from summer coming in and seeing, them trickle into the gym, doing some gymnastics, and now to see them fully there. There are definitely some really talented athletes on this team. Some have dealing with a lot of injuries as well, and just got to keep them healthy, and that's where the 13, 16 meets this year. It's just like, all right, what do we got to do? What do we got to do to keep you healthy? Because it's there. There's several athletes that if we can just maintain them and get them going, I think honestly, Deem is probably going to be one of our best events. I know.
It better. It has both of us coaching it. We're gonna look pretty foolish if it's not.
But they take it very seriously, and we've built that culture on the beam because we know that's one of the most important parts. You got to stay on the beam. So, and that's something that we're building from day one. Was kind of the mission going forward, and we have athletes that are really buying into that. And so it's just going to be an exciting year in terms of seeing the progress at the end. But it does take a toll on your family, and so my husband and my parents. Well, my husband's, he's very supportive.
He's here.
Yes, he's here. He's in the back, guys. But it takes a family to do this, and I know Suzanne has talked a lot about that before too. It takes a family to be a coach at any level, at any school, to be part of a sports team. And even when you're in the promotions department, or if you're in the athletics, just in the athletic department itself, it takes a family. Sports is a 24/7 job no matter where you fit into that role. And so my family has been amazing in the fact of just helping out in different ways. My parents actually live in Athens, so I've got a couple extra hands when we need them, and we can pass the babies off when we need to. But it takes support, and so we have the support of my family to help make this happen, because it takes a lot of work this year, especially the first year run.
She's incredible. I mean, just listen to her. I get so aggravated when I hear, and of course you're going to hear this in recruiting, and if the roles were switched and it was me, I would be saying the same thing. You really want to go to an inexperienced coach, come here. We already have these championships. Georgia hasn't won a championship in 10 years or 9 years or whatever it is. But listen to her. I mean, are you kidding me? She has a wealth of experience and knowledge. I mean, so much more than so many head coaches, so much more than I didn't have for 10 years. She lived it. She lived injuries, disappointments, building team. She understands the system. She understands the mental training to be successful, how hard it takes, what it takes to be a warrior and not a victim, and all of that. I mean, she's lived all of that. And her personal life experiences are going to make her one of the best head coaches ever in the sport. And I just don't want her to break my record. That's it.
We'll see, Suzanne.
Well, Suzanne, I'm curious, life as a volunteer assistant, I know you're a grandmother first, but what are you doing? How often are you doing it? And what is it like not, being the 3-star general that you were for so long?
Ask her.
No, it's actually been really good, and I know it's been difficult. Suzanne has a big personality, and she takes that leadership and she just runs with it, and she just makes decisions on the whim, and it's such a great part of her personality, and I think that's why we love her so much. So it's been tough for her, I feel like, at times, to really just make sure that she's embracing her role, which she absolutely has, and it's been fantastic. We've had to have some conversations about the direction and where we're going, because she is there to help continue to lead the program with what her vision started out as.
I don't know if it's hard on her. I think we're doing, I know we're doing really well together. Sometimes I'll say something, she'll go, I was just going to say that. And she'll turn around to me and she'll say something, I'll go, I was just thinking that in the car, that's what the team needs to know. And she will say the same exact thing that I would have said. And she's holding the Monday meetings that we used to have, that she sat in those hour-long meetings every Monday for 4 years with me. And she's holding those meetings with the team now, and the assistant coaches are in the room, of course, but as the head coach, she's sort of leading the direction of the meetings. And, you know, every once in a while I'll say, Courtney, can I say something? And she'll say, of course. I used to not ask at the first couple of days, but I find that, I mean, she's amazing. I'll walk out of the meetings and just go, God, you are right on with that. And it's what's hard for me is just understand, like when I left, we had the culture. And so the change from then until now is just, it's so different. It's like one of the first things that she decided, was that the girls need rankings on the board and they need to know where they stand. They shouldn't find out the day before a meet or the day of a meet who's competing. And we don't need to tell the TV commentator, she was a commentator and I was a commentator, and that was one of the hardest things are these teams that come
an hour before the
an hour before they're
they don't know the
changing the
lineup. I'm
lineup.
like, you seriously? How's that kid handling it back there?
Like, why are they doing that? To try to throw the opponent off? I mean, who cares who's competing? Like, why can't we know? It was like this big secret. And we decided, and so there's a ranking board, and every week we keep charts, we keep records of who's hitting and who's missing and their scores. And at the end of the week, Courtney compiles everything and puts the rankings up. I think it's wonderful. You know, the girls can see if they're top 6. There's no surprises who's going to compete January 12th. I mean, everyone will know in advance, parents and everyone. But then they come in 3 days later and someone's upset because, oh, I don't like the rankings, it's too much pressure. It's October, that's pressure? I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys are the ones that wanted to know where you stood. We're letting you know where you stood. We give them all the statistics that lead up to it, so there's none of this, I don't know why she's competing instead of me. And now they don't like the rankings. Okay, so for me it's just a little, I don't say anything. We had practice the other day and one of the girls said something like, you'll just have to wait and ask Courtney. And I knew I knew what she was gonna say, but I was like, you'll just have to wait and ask Courtney. So, and then there's times where there's things going on after practice. Bye, Courtney. I'm a volunteer coach.
She does use that quite often now, but it's her right to. She does come in and she works very hard and helps out in any way she can, and that's kind of been her role. It hasn't been necessarily one thing or the other. It's just been what we need as a staff, and that's kind of how we've treated the entire staff. Honestly, coming in is where's your strength, where's your weakness, and just building together as a cohesive staff. And so sometimes, you know, we do have, you know, bar coach is Josh and the ball coach is Charlie, but everyone's a floor coach, and then at times we might go over to the vault or they'll come over to just kind of really seeing where we fit. And so it's been a fun time. I think we are kind of getting into a more concrete area of where everyone fits in, but we're just so glad to have Suzanne. Glad that she took on this task with us.
It's fun. I love Courtney. I believe in Courtney. I was completely behind her having this job, and I know that she'll be successful. And my role is just to, whatever she asks me to do, I'll say, Courtney, what do you need me to do today? You know, and she'll say, you know, could you get the beam charts ready for Thursday and Friday? And I'll go get the beam charts ready for Thursday and Friday. So it works out pretty well. We walk into practice, Courtney, what do you want me to do? I want you to watch dance on the floor today. So, you know, she's got the lead, she's the head coach, everyone knows it, me included, and unlike what some people would think, it's working out really well.
All right, you have a sneak peek coming up, how many weeks? And can you tell everybody to kind of, you know, when and what to look for?
Yeah, we're excited. We're actually changing the name. It'll be called First Look. A little bit more classy. Suzanne did a great job with the name before, but she actually came up with this one too. She's got these dreams sometimes, and she comes, and I'm like, her dreams are awesome. She'd always tell us what event we were starting on at Nationals, so I'm going to wait to see if you do it again.
I picked it like 5 out of 6 years.
Incredible.
I picked the draw for SECs and Nationals.
And that's where Suzanne's creativity is really impactful, and that's what she did all those years to really build the program. And so that's one thing we do let her run with when she's like, I have this idea. I'm like, what is it? What is it? Like, can't wait to hear it because she's got so many great ideas. But it'll be called The First Look. We will stream it live, actually, on the SEC network, and it's going to be just a great opportunity for them to get out there. We want to fill the state with seats, so we're really going to start to promote it now. We want everyone to come in excited. We want it to be fresh and exciting for not only the fans, but for the athletes. We really want the energy to feed off of them. I know in times I'd go in and just didn't feel it from them on the floor, and I want them to start to be able to share that and feel that on the floor so that the fans can kind of embrace it and be excited about it. So we're really excited to get them out there, and they'll go on every event. So we'll see how many girls are ready, and we'll let them all go and just go vault bars and floor. It'll be in Stegman.
Are you going to have judges?
We will have 2 judges.
Yes.
One year you were out doing, you judged before the judge did, Suzanne, some of this.
I did?
You were already commenting on it when the judge was sitting.
Oh, I was?
You were
Well, we
very-
do that constantly in the gym. We judge them, so sometimes we watch the routine and make our assessment of the routine before it goes up.
You know, it just spills out of me.
No, it's great, I learned a lot.
But the
We are
first-
going to be doing, for the GEF and the permanent seat holders, we are going to bring back one of the things that we used to do, where we're going to ask our GEF season ticket holders to sit in the student section over there, and during warm-ups, we'll be able to come over and introduce the girls and tell you exactly what they're doing and have sort of more of a one-on-one kind of explanation, either with Courtney when she's not busy. If she's busy, it'll be with me, just basically telling you what's going on like we used to do. I loved it in the Coliseum. We worked really hard to grow our program to the point where our initial look at our team could be in the Coliseum, could be free to everyone. And, you know, it was brought back into the gym, which cut the numbers down so much. We're really hoping we can get the word out so that, because the worst thing is to be in the Coliseum with 1,000 people. I mean, we really know that it's going to take some years of continually being in the Coliseum to get those numbers back up for this December event. But, you know, hopefully we can promote it enough and you can spread the word that it's really a good time to get to know the girls and sit wherever you want to sit. And hopefully you can't move around because there won't be any seats to move around, but you never know.
Heather told me, but I can't read my handwriting, December 4th or 9th. I can't tell which one. At
December
4 p.m.
Yes.
at the Coliseum. Okay. And a couple minutes left. If anybody has a question they want to pose, I'm happy to open up the floor. Yes, go ahead.
Courtney, share a few moments with us from the transition from elite gymnast to sitting down with mom and daddy and selling the University of Georgia Gymdogs brand. How you do that? What's the mindset in all of this?
A little bit of what we've talked about today. It's really about taking care of their daughter. Is the number one thing. A mother now, think about sending my child off. I'm like, oh my goodness, seriously? Wanting to make sure they're in good hands. Wanting to make sure that they know that we care about their athlete and we're going to do everything we can for them. But it's incredible because Georgia has so many resources. So not only do they have the nutrition department, not only do we have academics where we're going to take care of them in terms of their schooling to make sure that they're getting good grades, but then we have a Georgia Way now, which is absolutely fantastic. If you don't know about it, it's helping them to transition from their sport into their job after college. And it's fantastic. And so they have mock interviews. They help them to buy a suit if they need a suit to get ready for an interview. And so there's so many little things now that is so important, not only for gymnastics, but for life. And that's one of the things I sell because gymnastics is 4 years. This is 4 years of their life. What are they going to take from these 4 years into their future? And I think Georgia has such great things in store for any college gymnast, especially, but any athlete that comes to Georgia. There's so many resources. And the other thing is just that we care. We truly, honestly care about the athlete. And yes, we want to win, and we want to get those athletes who are competitive. But we care about their mental health, their physical health, their injuries, how we can help them in that way. And then the other thing is, what's so great about our staff right now is the fact that we do have Suzanne here for these this year. Whoever knows how many years I keep her on board. But just the knowledge and the background. So we have Josh Overton is one of our assistant coaches, and so is Charlie Tomeo. And it's just amazing how with us four, along with Heather McCormick, who was a former gym dog that's back in the program helping out with everything she needs to. But then also we have Heather Wallace, who is at our administration helping out with parents. So they're going to hear from their child in different ways, being coordinated with where hotel are we going to stay at, so that they can be involved if they're going to a meet. And then in terms of our strength and conditioning coach and our athletic trainer, just the broad base, we're all working together constantly in every single area of their child's life when they get here. And so I think knowing that we're knowing everything that's going on. It's not just little teeny silos of, they're going to go over there and get strength and conditioning. Well, what are they going to do over there? They're going to weight lift? Hopefully not. No. And so we're coordinating with that strength and conditioning coach to make sure they're doing what we need. And to go a little bit further, it's just so incredible what we have here. If we're not jumping enough, if we're not punching off the floor in our tumbling, we can let that strength and conditioning coach know, and he can help make exercises to help them continue doing that. So if there's a trend along those lines, if they all have sore calves one day, our trainer brought it up. Oh, there's a couple people complaining of sore calves. What are you guys doing in strength and conditioning? What are you guys doing in the gym? Let's make sure we coordinate to make sure we're not doing too much. And so the ability to work together as a staff is the other point that's just incredible right now at Georgia that we sell to them.
A recruiter,
Sold me. Sold me.
Well, that actually
I like that.
made me think of something that Kirby talked about with football players. Is like in practice they wear those GPS things and are so into sort of all the biomechanics and all that.
Yeah.
Is gymnastics doing that kind of stuff to where you're studying sort of their movements in that kind of way to see how people are moving?
We haven't done it through technology yet.
Yeah.
That would be cool to start to do, but no, not in that aspect, just in terms of coordinating with all the different staff. But gymnastics is a little more difficult. I don't know if you can wear something as much when you're doing that.
But we
kind of
do have
thing,
these
so.
amazing recovery chairs that, I don't know, they were like $5,000 or $10,000 each. The Booster Club bought those for us, and they are these amazing recovery chairs that like read your bio whatever, and they lay there and it squeezes and does. They're pretty amazing little chairs.
We have
We've got-
girls studying in them with their computers, laying down, studying while they're getting just a little bit of
for fast
recovery.
recovery, yeah. So.
It's great.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time, and thank you all for coming. And I hope you found it interesting and illuminating. And have a great evening. Thank you very much.